Hey, Javad, looks like you were able to join from your phone.
Yes, hi, Anu. I don't know how the quality of connection is, but yes, I'm online.
Okay. It was okay so far. We have some new folks, so we'll do some introductions today. It's
Good
worth
morning.
Good morning. Good to have you here, Stefan.
Thank you. Good to be here.
We usually wait till 3 minutes past the top,
hmm
just to give folks enough time to show up. So, okay, we're there. I was hoping Cliff would join the call today because, to be honest, he's the one who knows the most about. He and Javad know the most about Chiplet Summit. I've stayed away from that for now. Um, but let's talk about the few other things I wanted to mention. And the first topic is actually, so you know what? Let's do some introductions. We've got a few new folk on the call today. I see Stefan, I see Mark McLean. Oh, there's Cliff. Hey, Cliff.
Hi, Anu. Hey,
How are
everybody.
you?
A little tired this morning after being at SC25 this week.
Oh, did you just come
Yes.
back?
Last night.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, you can talk about the show at some point. I was just gonna, there was two new people on the call. I just wanted to get them introduced to the team. So, Stefan, maybe?
Yes. Hi. Good morning. My name is Stefan Helmold. I'm consulting with Everspin and very interested to join the Chiplet effort.
Thank you, Stefan. We've got Mark, and I'd like to know what angle you're looking at it from, just so I think I know Stefan, but for everybody else.
Sorry. Can you repeat, Anu?
Just, what angle you're looking at. We do so many
Oh,
different things at
sorry.
the OCE,
Yes.
so.
I'm sorry. Yes, we are exploring at Everspin to integrate magnetic RAM solutions in heterogeneous packaging assemblies through a chiplet approach, and would like to learn especially about memory-based chiplet concepts.
Thank you and welcome to the team.
Thank you.
Mark?
Hi, I'm also consulting for Everspin, work with Stefan all the time. Pretty much the same thing, exploring chiplet concepts, particularly related to MRAM.
Okay, so that's interesting. So I think I had a quick call with Stefan and we talked a little bit about our effort in getting a die-to-die interface for other purposes, including memory, um, and morphing what we have already as a fantastic Bow 2.0 to other applications. And that was my first topic of interest today is the Bowflexi. So just to give everyone a quick lesson on what Bowflexi is, it's taking Bow 2.0. The idea of Bow 2.1 was taking Bow 2.0 and making it work for other applications. The Bowflexi specifically is for low data rate IoT industrial type applications. It could apply in many different spaces, medical devices, edge, um, and the possibilities are endless. The simplicity of a PHY at that point is really the most important thing. Low latency, low power, um, keep it as simple as possible to minimize fluff, because fluff isn't adding much in certain applications. So that effort is actually picked up quite a bit. We've got at least 3 or 4 or 5 or more companies um, participating now. It's led by um, Infineon. Morgan Whitley from Infineon is leading that effort. We have our 9 a.m. calls, which is on Wednesday, which is what's listed on the website. But because most of us are from North America, We also have a Thursday afternoon working session every week. Right now it's an Infineon meeting link, but I'm going to request the OCP to give me a Zoom link for that, because that way we can actually record it and share it, and work within the OCP guidelines. So I wanted to put it out there for any of you who are interested in this, or other folks. I know there's a couple of guys on this call who already participate. Please let me know, or if you have Morgan's email. This is when we're hashing it out. This is when it'll be defined. It's not going to do everything for everybody, but it's going to be flexible enough that it can do many things for many different applications and people. So if you're interested in that, do let me know, because by December, at least, we want to have a solid team. What somebody mentioned to me yesterday in the call was that every time we've got new people joining in and we're rehashing stuff, we had some new gentlemen yesterday, but that is the nature of the beast. But at some point, we're just going to have to say, these are the different folks who are interested to fit this into their applications, and we'll move forward. So just wanted to put it out there. If you know anyone who's looking for a Flexi IoT type based die-to-die PHY, do reach out to me, or have them reach out to me, because we don't want to keep going backwards in every meeting where we're explaining where we are. And a lot of folks who join us don't obviously know much about the BoFi itself. So it's sort of a little bit of a learning curve. And we want to accelerate through that as fast as we can, so we can actually write out a reasonable draft for a spec sooner than later. So remember that work is ongoing, and it's going out pretty darn well, and don't want to cause any undue delays. Any questions for me on that? Okay, next topic I wanted to talk about is the synergies between the work streams. There's a lot of work streams we have, and I know some of them are doing really great, some of them slightly slow, depending on where everyone's in their point in life. With the new ARM work stream coming in, we do have to think about where are areas of overlap where we can share or use or throw over to another work stream things that they're already covering and you don't want to cover again. And I think that's important. I know that, for example, Itai, who's not here, just send me a note as far as the system work stream is concerned, where Rob, Durgesh, and Itai are the leads. The main synergy is with the ARM work stream. And so we already have a meeting set up post Thanksgiving to discuss that, just to make sure that what they're doing and we're doing is not overlapping, because it seems like such a waste of time and energy to do that. And so we've got a meeting dedicated for that. The second one Itai pointed out is with Raghu on the virtual prototyping. I think that's kind of one level above even what the system work stream's doing, but definitely can merge in depending on how things work. So Raghu's work has just gotten started. He started the work stream, I think it was 2 weeks or maybe 2 weeks ago. We've had 2 meetings, and then we're going to take a little break for Thanksgiving. I think with Raghu, the key is people need to jump in and share what their thoughts are. It's not just Raghu trying to create this system for other people to use. So, but I do see some synergies there. I have David Ratchoff on the call, and David, I know that last time we talked about IP exact, which Rob, who's on the call, it brought up as the way as most vendors would use to describe the chiplets. I know you are planning to have a conversation with him. How does the CDXML, how does it all, in your mind, David, work together? You don't have to have a plan. I just want to understand that how do we proceed in that direction? Because that work is phenomenal work that you've done with Javad, and it's a JEP 30 standard. How does it all fit in with new work that's being done by the work streams? David, if you're
Yeah. Sorry, my apologies. So CDX is there to support the different work streams, right? And the different whatever different work streams need, we would encourage into CDXML, and it gets propagated into JEP 30. I just had a meeting this week with Jerek, and the test design kit 1.0. We went over that and incorporated it into JEP 30 for release sometime next year, probably February, March timeframe.
Mhm.
So we have that path kind of
Well established.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. But I think you are planning to have a conversation with Rob.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Yeah, basically, right, the idea is we are doing something and the systems work stream is doing something, see if there's any a commonality, first of all.
Yeah.
And then if there is, we can use that established path to JEDEC to make it a standard.
Okay. Yeah, because I think what you're doing is a lot more detailed than they were going to do. And so it might just be a nice little, if you want all of these more details, which is the materials, the assembly portion.
Yeah.
Go down the JEP 30 path.
Right, yes.
Okay. No, that is definitely a good thing. David, let me know how you guys work through that, just because I think we need to understand at a higher level. We're not all doing disparate things all towards the same goal.
Right.
Because everybody happens to actually have other jobs too.
Yep.
Thanks, David.
Yep.
The other thing I wanted to is I think Brian Murray is here. As far as the link layer conversations, I think you do attend the system workstream meeting, and I really appreciate that, because I think there's definitely some overlap there in terms of register bits and things that need to send messages for whatever purpose up and down the stack. Do you see anything come up that's going to cause changes to what you've already released for the 2.0, Bo 2.0, with the control path spec, and what Ventana contributed as the phi agnostic spec?
Well, I think 2.0 is still under discussion. And there's a couple of things we're talking about, like what that actually means. So I don't think that's a solid thing yet. But
when you say 2.0, sorry, I confused you. I meant the Bo Phi 2.0, not the link layer 2.0. Yeah.
No, I don't think anything. I'm not going to say anything, but I don't know of anything from the physical side that's going to be pushing up into the link layer at this time right now.
Okay.
I think the stuff we're talking about are improvements to the existing link layer going forward, but I haven't heard anything from the Phi side that.
Yeah, I think so. The only thing I would mention is with the Bo Flexi, depending on how that turns out and how light of a link layer is needed, we may have to have some conversations about what it is, because the whole goal of the Flexi is to keep it really light and simple, but to also work with the 2.0, right? So it's kind of an ambitious thing where you want to be able to work with 2.0, which has an existing how many ever bits of 512 bits of link layer spec. But we also want to make it as light as possible. So, Brian, at some point, that conversation may come up when that spec has evolved a little bit with
Okay.
consensus and collaboration. I think that's one thing I'd like to point out. But do you see anything coming out of the system work stream that could require any modifications or any different thought process for the link layer, or do we feel comfortable? I honestly don't know the answer, hence the question.
I mean, we're not really at that level, I think, in the systems group. So everything, it's all the discussions, at least I've been into the last, handful of meetings in the systems group are a couple of levels above what we're doing in the link layer. So no, not from that one. I think there's some conversations to be had with the new foundation chiplet group, right?
Yeah.
I know, the existing ARM stuff has a different link layer,
Yeah.
So whether we are applicable or not for that group and that standard, I don't know. So that's another conversation.
Yeah, so I think there's one meeting set up right post Thanksgiving
Yes.
with the FCSA group leads and the system group leads. Let's see what comes out of that, and then next step would be connecting you guys because the FCSA sort of overlaps a whole lot of different pieces. So that's a good point, Brian. So we'll see what that means after our first preliminary meeting week after next. Thanks, Brian. And next question to Rob. Rob, do you see anything else that we need to do? We've got the first meeting with ARM on Workstream, but is there anything else we need to do on our side to make sure that everybody's talking nicely and working well with each other?
Yeah, I guess we'll just see what I don't know what the ambition of the ARM one is. So we had a lot of stuff that overlapped, which we could probably cede to that group, but there was other stuff that doesn't look like it's in their scope, but I don't know if that was their plan.
Okay.
So we just need to discuss it.
Okay. So yeah, I think you're right. Let's go to a much more detailed discussion week after next, and then we'll see. Thanks, Rob. Next, I want to, sorry, I'm just pulling random people up, but like as my mind just goes, as I see names, I start connecting dots. Durgesh, on the security side, any updates? How do we proceed? What's next? I'm not really sure if you've had a chance to look at it recently, but any updates for us?
Anu, on the security, no, there were few meetings I had to leverage, especially from UCIe, because that's one I was aware of. Rob sent some material, then I talked to some of the people I knew, but I've not put it together that how we will bring it back to our work stream. So I have to work on that. I slowed down on that one.
Yeah, not a problem. I fully understand.
So on
sorry,
finish your thought.
No, sorry to just pull you up, but it's just that most people show up at this meeting, so it's so much easier for me to have these conversations.
No, I totally get it. On the previous topic, though, on the ARM, I want to understand how that happened because generally, like say when SUE was brought up, the spec was given, but there are others now who are modifying the spec and making it inclusive, right? That's how OCP is. So any background on that? How is that happening? How are we going to make it inclusive so that it just doesn't become an ARM architecture? It becomes x86, RISC, everyone is inclusive of that?
I think that would be the goal, but I'm going to let Cliff talk about that, given his experience with the OCP and how to make it inclusive.
Sure. We're talking about the ARM contribution of the foundational system architecture. So the plan was for I guess a 0.5 to be completed very shortly, to bring the initial ideas into the foundation. But the work stream moving forward will include all those that are interested. And the idea there is to continue to bring in additional ideas and folks and generalize it so that other architectures outside of ARM could also be used. Oh, that's clearly the intent of creating the workstream.
So Cliff, the first spec will be 0.5 then? Because
Don't quote me on that. I believe I've seen some discussions, but I don't know if that's the final decision. I know you might be more up to date on that than me.
Yeah, I think that sounds about right. I haven't had a chance to talk to Mark, but maybe post Thanksgiving we'll have a little bit more,
Mhm.
few more sessions. But I think Durgesh, they came in with the goal of being compute agnostic and vendor agnostic. And to me, when you say that, that means you should be able to fit any other type of architecture, non-Neoverse based. And I think that's the goal coming in, and that's all I know at this point.
Anu, if the spec is 0.5, that works out because generally, like my previous companies or especially Intel will come with 0.5, and when you make it 1.0, then you give chance to others. But if there is a spec 1.0, then my concern is that then it becomes very specific and it's not applicable to others, and then we lose the whole motivation to do it, right? So if it is 0.5, that would make sense so that others get an opportunity to speak up and make a spec 1.0.
Yeah, and there was a mandate written up, Anu. Did you not share it with everyone? Is it not posted for this
It's
workstream?
posted actually. So thank you, Gilberto, who sent it out on the chat.
Okay, well then in that case, by looking at the mandate for the workstream, you can clearly see what the
And
plan is.
there is a web page too. I think, I mean, ARM basically advertised all of that during their talk. So there's already a work stream. If you look at our main wiki page, there's a link there to the FCSA page. So I think we'll have more information. But Durgesh, I think we're working through, to your point, we're working through the pieces. And I agree that pre 1.0 is a better place to be for an initial release, maybe. Um, but I will have to have a few more conversations with them.
Okay.
The first draft that they had, the one that Gilberto shared on this, was released just 2 days ago, 19th November. It says 1.0 draft 0.
Yes.
I haven't had a chance to read this because it just was released. The wiki page has been there for some time, but this draft was promised actually 48 hours ago, which is when it was released. So I would suggest folks take a look at this document here. It'll be fun reading for the weekend, I think. And then, concerns we should take back to them if we think it does say 1.0 on this draft version. We'll talk about that maybe. And we are meeting with them, Durgesh, week after next.
Yeah. So I'm just bringing it up because it has to align with OCP charter, which is inclusive and it is being used. If it becomes one specific spec, then it may not be that useful for OCP.
I didn't quite, in my naive way, I didn't quite realize that if it's a 1.0, all hell breaks loose in terms of it's other folks can't make contributions. I mean, is that something that the OCP has in some way, Cliff, or am I?
No, I don't think the number, whether it's 1.0 or 0.5 really matters personally.
Okay.
What it matters is it's the starting point. Everyone
Yeah.
recognizes that, and there'll be another version following, which is the one
Yeah.
I'm going to be working on. Um, and ultimately, that next rev will include all the feedback and the changes that make it more generic.
Yeah. So Durgesh, I
No,
think
sorry,
hopefully.
I have a little bit different opinion that in
Okay.
industry it may not be written. Where 1.0 spec means it's a final spec. Whether you look at CXL, whether you look at ECIE, UAL, all those. So naming does mean something. So we have to be careful. I mean, we can choose to call it 1.0 is fine, but we should be aware 1.0 means that this is going to be a published accepted spec. And then we will build on it. Then we may call it 1.1, 1.2, or it may become 2.0. So
Mhm.
naming does mean 1.0 means that it is a final spec. It generally becomes the de facto foundational spec.
So let me add or clarify a couple things here. First, we are going to be working on some guidelines within OCP of here's what revisions really mean. So whether that's in Q1, whatever, but right now we should be having these type of conversations to align. And the second piece on that alignment, a 1.0 should be implementable, right? I don't think I'll go as far as say, it's the foundational, it's the end of everything, right? We can rev past, but certainly a 1.0 is fully implementable. And I think that's where the discussion should start. We should be reviewing that spec, understanding that implementation, and it's fine to have those discussions about down revving, because I might suggest a 0.8 would be complete and needing review to understand if it's implementable. And that's feedback I provided to other specs to say, hey, you might want to start a little bit lower in rev because your intent really is to now get the entire open community input.
That's fair. That's the right way to put it.
Okay, so Russ, this particular version is called 1.0. So are you suggesting we can down?
I don't have anything with respect to that specific spec. I haven't looked at it. I don't think it's in the system yet as a contribution to be reviewed.
No, it's not. It's a draft in the Google Drive.
Right.
Yeah.
So the community should be with whatever the workstream has already stated, right? Doing those actions. If it said, hey, we're posting it, please start giving us feedback, go do that. And I think if your input is that, hey, we're looking at this and we see a lot of things that we'd like to have further input and refine, and that leads to a comment on what rev level do you intend, put those comments in. What I see is most spec authors, they just come at it and say, oh, I want to release this, it's a rev 1. And I'm not so sure that we really, within OCP, have clear guidelines on what our revisions mean, and that's something I'm working on.
Okay. No, that's fair enough.
Something you might want to take a look at is JEDEC has a manual, JM12, that really goes into all of these little details about how to rev things, what rev numbers mean, and all that sort of thing. And it's, that I don't know, 0.2, 0.3, you're just getting started. 0.5, it's kind of serious. 0.7, the silicon guys can start building. And when it's when it's a full integer, then it's serious. It's been voted on 12 different ways. The board of directors said okay, and that's it. That this is the first standard that's out there, and the world can start implementing.
Yeah, no, I think that makes sense. And I think that's where Durgesh is coming from, as in if it's a 1.0, that means the world can start using it and nobody's given feedback. So how does that work? I think we will resolve this. I think for ARM, they already have a CSA, which is proprietary standard. And so this was taking parts of it and making it more agnostic to the pieces that went in, other than the ARM bus features. And so maybe that's how it translated. But Durgesh, we'll keep that in mind when we talk to them.
Yeah.
And understand. Okay, I thank you all for educating me on this revision number. Apparently, it's terribly important. I never paid that much attention to it. Appreciate it. And Durgesh, on the security side, again with the ARM, I honestly don't know what they have, if they've used what the UCIe or similar stuff, not used what UCIe, of course not, but a similar management system or not. I don't know enough. But I think there again, there could be some synergy in seeing what they have and if it's something that's useful for everybody else, or it's too specific to a certain structure.
Yeah, I agree. They have a lot of work done on the security. So yeah, we can leverage if they're open, definitely.
Yeah. Okay, so that meeting, I think in 2 weeks is pretty important. I hope everyone on that invite list can make it, which was Rob, Itai, Durgesh, and myself. So please take a look at that on your calendar and let Mark Knight from ARM know if there are any issues. Something else I wanted to talk about, but it slipped my mind. So okay, with the Everspin guys here, I wanted to understand a little bit more, or I think everybody would like to know what exactly you're looking for. I know MRAM is kind of the new kid on the block, or maybe old kid reinventing to be a new kid on the block, and the next cool thing. Can you tell us what you're looking for? What kind of interface you'd like to see? Um, we've got memory interfaces. We've got a Baudot memory. We've got a Bo Flexi, which could also talk to a DRAM potentially. But some information from you would help. We've got a few guys like Kevin Cash, who are the BoFi guys on the call.
Yeah, sure. Happy to provide more context, Anu. What we've seen is as we looked into adding MRAM, larger densities MRAM, right, especially in many cases in lieu of SRAM, to solutions, you are limited if you embed that, right? If you connect it externally, then you have the problem that you experience maybe high energy consumption and often also higher latencies. So the challenge or the pain point we're trying to address is how we can tightly integrate larger densities of MRAM with processors. Historically, chiplets have been starting their journey with heterogeneous compute integration, and as such, were too expensive or too complex for memory integration. So we're looking exactly for what, at least at the high level that you're describing for the Bo Flexi, right? For an integration solution that can serve everything into the IoT, into the edge, especially where you would either add or replace on-chip SRAM with external MRAM. That's really where it can shine. So you have a persistent working memory that you can add to the system architecture, tightly integrated through a chiplet. I hope that helps framing, but certainly open to questions. And I don't know, Mark, if you would like to add what I forgot.
Well, no, I mean, you covered it pretty well. It just comes down to we figure that there are opportunities to take embedded where, the more memory you add to the die, the bigger it gets and the more expensive it gets. And typically the memory technologies are a node or two behind, maybe several nodes behind what the CPUs can be. So you're chewing up even more nano acres on the die, on an expensive die, to have memory on there. So if there's an opportunity to move that off die into a process node that's more optimal for the memory, I mean, that's kind of the whole point of chiplets, right?
Right.
Is disaggregate. So then, so it sounds like a great idea. Now the question is, what does that interface look like? And so we look, and everybody's got a different idea. And the only things we've seen really happening are partnerships. Guy A and Guy B get together and say, "Yeah, this is what we're going to do," and so we're hoping that there's a more industry-wide standard, and we'll see what that is. And if we can accomplish it on a die, then we'd like to be able to be in the party. So that's kind of the gist of it.
So the latency requirements are terribly important for you, right? Because you're looking to replace embedded SRAM with
Yes.
Yeah, it's certainly very valuable. For us, adding lots of layers of complexity are not interesting. We want as thin of a layer between us and whatever we connect to as possible, and keep it as simple as possible. So when we look at things like UFS, it's got 47 layers and a bunch of old SCSI type protocols built into it. It's like, no. It's so yeah. So if there were a way to just, I don't know, plug into APB or an AXI bus, maybe that would be at the level, we want to be as close as possible. But we also, it has to be something standard that whoever we want to connect to is likely to have a connector that works.
Yep. No, I see. So you have our meetings for Thursday and Wednesday, right, Stefan and Mark?
We're just getting started on that, or I'm barely getting started on this, so I've got to figure out which meetings to be at. I understand this one's kind of a more general overview kind of thing, where the one on Thursday is more specific to Flexel.
Yeah,
and
the
then
Flexi.
so
Like I mentioned earlier, we've got a Wednesday 9 a.m. BOFI call. But the problem with that is there's few people. Actually, the Workstream lead, Morgan, can only stay for 30 minutes at that time. And so we figured since all the participants were in North America, we just do it in the afternoon because most of us have freer afternoons than the morning. So we've got this temporary time slot on Thursday afternoon at 1:30. It's only for the Bowflexi. And you won't find that meeting on the website because it's actually it uses Infineon's WebEx, and I'm trying to replace that with an OCP Zoom just for a couple more weeks because there's a lot of making of the sausage business that's going on that Thursday meeting. So it's a very in-depth discussion. So that might be a good place if that time slot works for you, Mark.
I have that. Yeah, I have that on the calendar forwarded to Mark. So we're planning on attending that, and then we'll switch over to the OCP Zoom.
Yeah, I have a note that I gotta check with OCP today with Kevin. So I think I have covered everything that I wanted to talk about in terms of the Bowflexi and the synergies between the teams. I'm gonna now hand it off to Javad and Cliff to talk about the upcoming Chiplet Summit in February 2026, because they're the ones tracking this. Thank you.
Hi, Anu. It's February 17th to 19th, if I've got that correctly, in Santa Clara. And the OCP will be present there again. We'll have a booth. We do have our afternoon tutorial, and Jawad and Anu have been working to select speakers to fill that. Let me see, and we will have a keynote. We'll be focusing, of course, on the open chiplet economy and driving towards the future that we believe in, where we do have an open chiplet marketplace, and OCP is providing the standardizations that are required to really make that work. Jawad, I'm not sure if you want to add anything to that.
No, I think we pretty much said all of it. I just want to once again mention that if any of you are interested in participating one way or the other, please do reach out to us. There may be some opportunities where we could use your help, or maybe pass along your help to the organizer. So we are happy to be participating in full force with Chiplet Summit, and that this is an opportunity for open chiplet economy volunteers to make use of our engagement there. If you have any questions, happy to answer.
Thanks, Javad and Cliff. The other thing is I'm a really bad LinkedIn poster, but I tried to put together, with Cliff and Javad's help, a little blurb on our OCE day at the Global Summit with a link to the recordings. Unfortunately, I posted it such that I think only those in my connections can see, and I can't fix the damn thing. I don't know how to. Like I said, I am not very good at this. But just want to let you know that it's there. If you see it, repost it on your own network, because I think pretty much all of you are connected to me, so you should be able to see it. repost it, advertise it. It's unbelievable the number of people who I meet at random times, including somebody like Stefan, who says, "Oh, we didn't know you were doing all this work on chiplets towards what the industry requirements and needs are." And we'd like this to be known through LinkedIn. And so if you see my posts, please repost it, and if you can improve my post, please do it. free power to all of you. So just wanted to let you know that it exists out there, and so you can like it, but you can also repost it. Maybe I think that's the way to go. Okay, I think we've covered everything I want to do for today. Any questions? Anyone have anything to say, add? We do, going into 2026, need to look at, okay, so there's two things that I'm going to talk some more. There's two things that I feel we have a bit of a hole in. And if any of you have resources or contacts, one is, on the BOFI, we've got the Bodart optical. Shahab was leading that for a long time, but given how busy he is now with being acquired by AMD, I think his life is now consumed by what AMD needs him to do. We need a new someone else looking at the Bo optical and moving it forward. I think Kevin and I have talked about this. Kevin from Ilion and I have talked about this, and anyone who has a lead who's willing to look at the optical, because I think it's if we're doing Flexi, we've got memory, we've got Bo for HPC, and we've got an idea of how to make it work for optical. We need to get that going. I would appreciate it if you've got contacts to let me know who I can reach out to who'd be willing to work with the OCP to help the Bo optical along. That's one. The second one is, Jawad, I wanted to talk to you about the test group. I haven't heard much from them, and I haven't followed up how they're doing. Do you have an idea, or should we be talking to Rajesh and Mike Bartley?
I think, yes, the later one, we need to touch base with them. I do see a whole bunch of announcements flying around, but they primarily come from Mike Bartley.
Yeah.
So we just have to synchronize things properly.
Yeah. Okay, because I think the test is a really important portion. Nobody wants to spend unnecessarily cycles on test, and nobody wants to allow it to cost any more than it does today. And so I feel like all the EDA companies are doing their thing. It's moving along. All the big companies do their own thing. NVIDIA, AMD, Intel. It's just as a collective, what recommendations do we have to not increase the cost of testing and produce the so-called known good die business for system efficiency? Okay, so those are the pieces that we need to go back and investigate. I have nothing else for today. Jawad, do you have anything? Cliff or anyone on the team?
No, that's all. Thanks, Anu.
I'm good, thanks.
And a very happy Thanksgiving. Next Friday's meeting will be canceled. So happy Thanksgiving to everyone in the US, outside the US. Enjoy the long weekend, and we will regroup the week after next. Thank you all.
Thank you.